G'day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan video, and in this video we are in it for the long haul. This is going to be a I don't want to say very long video. I mean, it's not going to be super long, but the run is going to be quite long. Yeah, I was going to say tedious, but it's actually a pretty thrilling run. There's a lot of opportunities to fall apart, but the run itself is going to be very long. This is Majin Power. This is the Majin Power challenge for the first stage of the Ultimate Red Zone. Now, firstly, I do believe you need to have physical LR Buu to do this. Maybe you can get away if you have AGL Super Buu and 21 and also the new Int Buu, I don't know. But to me, if you don't have AGL Super Buu, if you don't have AGL 21, if you don't have maybe physical Android 21, then this is kind of the only build I think that works. And also, I want to preface it by saying Tech Buu, as in Tech Transforming Buu, is going to be getting his EZA very soon. So he also should be pretty solid shortly. Now, before I talk in depth about the team, let's just understand a little bit of the strategy and how things are going to work here. So the first two phases, we are going to be relying pretty much entirely on a little bit of RNG and stunning. So in the first two phases, the enemies hit hard, but they don't hit massively hard. And what you want to do here is you actually want to stun regularly one of the two units. So in the first two phases, Spopovich, which is the strength unit, he can be stunned. And in the second phase, against Pui and Yakon, you can stun Yakon. So stunning them is pretty important because we need to not use any items in the first two phases. That's generally what we need to do. This is going to keep us to the point where we're going to be sitting with enough items for the final two phases, because we have a lot of units that without those Whis items or without those items are not going to be able to stack. Like, they're not going to be able to be strong enough or stack up against the attacks that are going to be coming in. So that is very important. Now, of course, aside from that, there's not too much else that we need to do. In the first phase, we'll be focusing down the tech unit, as we can't stun him, and it'll allow us to continuously stun Spopovich. Then in the second phase, we're going to focus down Pui while stunning Yakon. In the third phase, we focus down Babidi. Then we take out Deborah. And then obviously you move on to the final phase where you're facing Majin Buu and Babidi, or Babidi and Buu. Now, of course, right off the bat, just as a full disclaimer, the rotations for this team are going to be the physical Buu and the strength Buu, strength super Buu, and physical Buu and the strength kid Buu. The rest of the units are all going to be floating. You can switch in Majin Buu early on to build out some stacks, but once you have Buuhan, then you need to switch in strength kid Buu or strength super Buu, because that's the only way he's going to activate big bad bosses, and it's far more crucial that he has big bad bosses than you build up stacks on Majin Buu. Okay, now let's talk about the team, because obviously now it's kind of gotten to that point. So as the leader of our team, we have the EZA'd Extreme Physical Buu Go Tanks. Now, this unit obviously is a Majin Power lead of 180%, which is fantastic. In his base, he's got obviously that ability to guard all attacks, that medium chance of evasion, but he stacks attack and defense. So he greatly raises his defense on his 18 key. So it's imperative that we can get him some 18 keys, but it's not super mandatory. Now, don't think it's super duper mandatory, because when he transforms, he still has some way to raise his defense. and at that point he'll have guard and he should be strong. If you don't need him to stack long to have him be good enough defensively for this stage. In other events you might want to keep him stacking a bit longer, but here you can pretty much transform him immediately, guaranteed that you have the strength super boo. Okay, so when you transform him, obviously he recovers some HP, which is great. He then also launches an additional super attack for 3 turns, and he guards all attacks. He has a high chance of evasion. He launches an additional super attack, and he gets an additional key +2 per key sphere obtained. He will disable the action of the enemy hit by his ultra super attack, and he gets an additional 50% attack and defense from his entry turn. He also gets an additional attack and defense of 100% from the 6th turn from his entry turn, and he seals the attacked enemy's super attack for 5 turns once only. Gets an additional attack of 50% temporarily upon his next attack if HP is 15% or more at the end of turn, and recovers 10% HP if HP is 50% or less at the end of turn. So obviously it's a big attack boost to have him come out early on, and that's why I say don't be scared to bring him out, because if you can bring him out a little bit earlier, let's say around, ideally you don't want to bring him out around the Yakon Pui Pui section unless you feel like you need a guarantee or you're a bit concerned. I did, and it went perfectly fine for me. If you do need to do it around the Babidi'S phase though. So the reason I say that is because at this point now you need the extra damage. If you do bring him out just before this is also fine, because you do want to kind of eliminate Babidi in exactly one go. And if you don't eliminate Babidi in one go, then it does become a little bit more difficult for you as a character. It does become quite challenging, because obviously now he doesn't have nearly as much damage as he would have if he'd survived the turn beforehand. So now you're in a bit of a tighter situation on the DPS check. There's also this very annoying habit that the Burra does have of stunning your unit immediately in the first slot, as you just saw there. This is the most annoying thing, but it also is something you don't have a lot of control over. So you do have to, to some extent, put up with it as well. Obviously, hopefully Boo dodges. If he doesn't, he doesn't. It is what it is. Now, to cut a long story short, this is, and the reason I've gone into so much detail about physical Boo is because he is the most important component. The rest are not so important, but there are 2 other important factors. So Strength Kid Boo, you could replace him with Android 21 or something if you want to, but Android 21 won't provide margin or infinite regeneration. You could also replace him with AGL Super Boo, is also okay. So you could, slot in those guys. Maybe you could slot in Tech Majin Buu South Supreme Kai. That's the big buff Tech Buu. Maybe, but it's not something I would suggest. So yeah, Kid Buu obviously someone I would definitely use for 2 reasons. He activates big bad bosses, which is very, very important. Like I said, Buhan's damage is going to carry this entire fight, so giving him big bad bosses is very good. And he himself is really quite solid. Obviously, depending on how many dupes you have is going to affect his own performance. Depending on link leveling is going to affect his performance as well. He recovers 20% HP at the end of the turn in which his attack was received, which is great. He keeps up that healing. And then he can nullify unarmed super attacks that are directed at him as well, which is also very important. So, Boo or Kid Boo makes a very nice kind of second slot unit. He shares the most important links, which is very important, obviously, being big bad bosses, being, infinite regen, big bad bosses, margin, all the main stuff that you need, the meaty stuff to get physical LR Boo going. So you could definitely roll with him, for sure. And then the other rotation, we have Strength Buhan. Now, I missed out on my Strength Buhan becoming my Strength Super Boo becoming Majin Buu Ultimate Gohan. And I'm going to be honest with you, it can almost kind of tank your run. The difference between Majin Buu Gotenks and Majin Buu Ultimate Gohan is very night and day. Like, it's actually quite immense, the difference between them. Ultimate Gohan Majin Buu recovers just more health, like has more defense, gets an additional defensive boost at the start of turn depending on how much health is remaining. It gets an additional attack boost when attacking, or just an additional attack that has a high chance of becoming a super attack, has great chance to guard, and high chance of guarding. He's greatly raises attack and defense for 3 turns. Like, he's very good. And he can very much be way more useful than the Gotenks. Now, that's not to say that you can't use the Gotenks version, because I obviously did. But I will state that if you can get the Ultimate Gohan, you have a much better time. The Piccolo version is also not bad. Obviously, being a little bit more defensive minded, a little bit more HP recovery, a little bit more kind of like defensively orientated, but you do lose out on big bad bosses. However, you do get an additional support for allies of attack. So, you know, it kind of works out. The rest of the team, honestly, is pretty much just floating. So there's not too much to say about them. Janembu, great. Like I said, you need to get some stacks on him. And obviously he's not going to be able to tank or anything, but his evasion could help him out, and his ability to activate guard is definitely very helpful. Then you also have, of course, the Tech Buu and the Extremely Awakened Tech Buu, because we don't have a ZZA yet, which, yeah, seemed to work out fine. I'm very excited for his ZZA, but as of this video, he doesn't have it. So if you want to just copy this team and literally wait like a couple days, then there you go. You'll immediately probably do it way easier than I will, which is fantastic. And then, yeah, last but not least, we have Tech Buu, or Super Buu. This guy, very, 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 very dodgy. He's got really good healing abilities, and the medium evasion can sometimes come in clutch, but realistically he just has such a low defense. So he's relegated to floating and just praying that he basically gets, his attack off and can heal and all that stuff, because yeah, it is very, 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 very limiting his abilities, to be honest with you. So yeah, that is it. Obviously, it was a very long run. You are very heavily reliant on the physical Buus, for sure. I think that's definitely something that's quite obvious. I think overall, honestly, this was pretty challenging. I think especially if you don't have maybe like AGL 21, AGL Super Buu, etc. I think it can definitely be a bit more challenging, than you might expect, but it can be done. You're very heavily reliant on physical LR. I don't believe you need him Rainbow, but I do think you need him Link, like quite higher Link levels, and I think you need to put good gear on him. You don't need him Rainbow, but you might need to have a dupe in him. It's just how I feel, based on the damage requirements and everything. Having the dupe, having all that stuff, does make a very big difference. Does very significantly change how well he performs. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Honestly, very, very straightforward. Super duper happy, and yeah, very nice run. So that's it from me. Bye.